Dropkick Murphys just saved a guy's life. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen a band do? In Flames concert in Detroit, MI, some guy in the pit had a huge sign that said "Play Bullet Ride." No matter what happened in the pit, he kept that sign up and you could even hear him between songs shouting "Play Bullet Ride." Halfway through the set, the lead singer asked the guy to come to the front and asked him why he wanted to hear "Bullet Ride." They had a brief conversation and then Anders, lead singer, turns to the band and asks, "Do you guys remember how to play it?" "Yes, okay, go." They played the song perfectly and the guy went nuts. After that song was done, he stopped the set again and asked the crowd to bring the guy back to the front. Anders pulls him up on stage and says, "Okay, I played a song for you. Now you play one for me." Hands the guy the mic and walk off stage. Band goes into the next song and you could tell the guy was having the time of his life up there. It was one of the best shows I've ever been to. I saw Henry Rollins do a spoken word gig last year, and to start the show, he walked out and said that before the show can really start he had some business to clear up. He said that we may have noticed tickets were a little bit more expensive than in previous years. He said it was a miscommunication between the promoter and various other parties. He was quick to say that nobody was at fault, but he figured we were all overcharged by about $10 and apologized. He then reached one arm back into the curtain behind him and pulled out a 4-inch high stack of crisp $10 bills and walked into the audience, personally handing $10 bills to everyone. It took about 20 minutes. It was incredible. I have yet to hear a Henry Rollins was a dong story. I saw the Angry Samoans at the last Warp Tour they played, and at some point while I was walking around with my friends, being idiots and all, I left my wallet on the floor with $25 in it. I don't realize, until I'm home, that my wallet is gone. Time passes and in the mail I get an orange envelope thing with my wallet and a note from Metal Mike, lead singer of the band. I was shocked. I still have it with me. For those of you who don't know, the Angry Samoans are an old punk band. You know, I was almost in that band. I was 14, awkward, scared, but ambitiously attending punk shows against my Korean parents' wishes. 10 seconds in the pit at some show in downtown Manhattan. Maybe my second show ever. I end up beer soaked and my glasses have been punched off my face. I am completely blind without my glasses. The song ends. I'm surrounded by terrifying bear men in steel-toed boots and girls with shocking hair. One guy sees me fumbling around blindly, and within 30 seconds the entire floor clears out and literally everybody is looking for my glasses. Not found, but that was the first time I realized that a decent mosh pit is about love, not hate, and that the apparent violence is actually an expression of that brotherly sisterly love. I was at a mindless self-indulgence show, general admission, and I was loving it. The venue was this pretty small club bar, so it wasn't a huge crowd, but pretty big. I noticed the guitarist, Steve Ree, seemed like he kept looking at me. I figured it was in my head, but he kept looking back. After a while, during a song, he walked off the side of the stage and worked his way down the side of the crowd, mostly unnoticed as everyone was busy watching the lead singer, Jimmy Urine. He walks right up to me while playing, points at my shirt, says "Han shot first," and yells in my ear, "You're dang right he did. I have that same shirt." Man, I was so completely blown away. Not as cool as saving a guy's life, but still pretty cool. My cousin was sitting on a plane flipping through his CDs. The guy next to him saw a Dropkick Murphys CD. He asked my cousin if he liked them and my cousin's response was, "Heck no, I can't stand them. This is my wife's CD." The rest of the plane ride was silent, but when they went to get off the plane the guy leaned over and said, "Since your wife is a fan, tell her to buy our next CD." He was the lead singer of Dropkick Murphys. I work as a stagehand, so I see a lot more than the average concert goer. The last time Kiss came through, I saw Gene Simmons go out of his way to be hyper nice to a fan. This was backstage. No camera crews, no media, just him and a few fans. This particular fan was wheelchair bound. My guess is Miz or something similar. Gene cut through the crowd to talk to this guy, took photos with him, signed his wheelchair, signed a $20 in the guy's pocket, and really engaged him in conversation. Then, to top it off, He walked the guy out through the loading dock and helped him get into his van. I know there are many stories out there about how good and how bad Gene can be, but that night it was pure class. The guy must have bought a Kiss brand wheelchair. This story doesn't qualify, but frick it. I was playing a gig once when I saw the guy fall and apple core his bicep out on a pint glass. His drunk friend proceeded to drag him to the side of the stage and dab at this gaping wound with some toilet paper. The hole in his arm was just eating the paper and pumping dark blood. Between songs I said to his friend ambulance and he replied, really? They cost like. Do you have a phone? So my phone is the real hero. Motherfucking upvote for your phone. I saw almost the same thing happen, minus the fight, at a brand new show in Indianapolis a couple years back. Jesse Lacey, lead singer, kept the crowd pacified with a one-man cover of Two-Headed Boy Part 2 while this poor girl in the crowd was receiving urgent medical care. Kind of a creepy combo actually. I was at Coachella in 2006 or 2007 and saw Atmosphere. Halfway through the show, someone collapsed and the crowd cleared a bit to make room. Slug stopped the show, called security and paramedics, and didn't resume until the guy was in good hands. That's what we like to call Minnesota nice. Another Dropkick Murphys story. I was at the Punk-O-Rama tour back in 2000 to 2001ish when a friend of mine killed himself, and I was pretty shook up over it still. While waiting for the show to start, the bassist Ken asked me how I was doing. I told him, and during the show they dedicated a song to my fallen friend. Afterwards they invited me backstage and hung out with them until they left for their next show. The Dropkick Murphys visited a girl in the hospital who had cancer and played songs in her room. She loved the band and lived by Dropkick Cancer. What an awesome band. Something similar happened when I saw Rise Against a couple months ago. It was towards the end of the show, while playing Strength to Go On, ironically, and some guy must have fallen and hit his head on the floor. They noticed something was up and stopped playing, telling everyone to get out of the way as security started pushing people away and the medics came. They pulled the guy out of there after a few minutes. The band thanked everyone for cooperating, and then continued right where they left off. I think their website commented on the guy being okay after the show. Sorry, no idea how to format paragraphs on here. Black masks and gasoline. Tyler the Creator broke his foot literally within the first 5 seconds of the show. He then stayed on his feet, not showing much pain, and went nuts. He jumped into the crowd and came back without a shoe and people were tearing his shirt off. After this he had a pained look on his face and hobbled off to the side while his friends continued the song. He came back out, jumping on one foot. He told us he had a broken foot and you could see the bone poking underneath the skin. Then he said that he was going to run to the hospital and that his friends would rap in the meantime. Then he came back like 45 minutes later and finished the show. Singer from Converge broke his leg one show and continued. Then again all his vocals sound like someone cringing in pain anyway. A drunk guy rushed the stage at Gorgle Bordello and the violinist dude danced with him before security pulled him down. Was pretty rad. The most violent dude. This is not quite comparable but still awesome. I headed with a friend to a Bear in Heaven show which had been sold out for a while, to see if we could get tickets at the door, which we couldn't. One guy had an extra ticket and sold it to us. This other guy who was hanging out sees us so desperate and says, "Hey, my friend might not make it so here's his ticket," and he sold it to us for a fair bit below normal price. When the set starts, it turns out this guy is the drummer. In Flames did a similar thing last month when I saw them. Some girl got pushed and banged her head on the railing. The band stopped everything, called security paramedics, and got the whole crowd cheering for her when she decided she was good to stay for the rest of the show. They also cheered on the two guys who stage dived from the second-story balcony, an old guy with an epic Sam Elliott type mustache, and the little old grandma who took her grandkids to see the band, and ended up rocking out through the whole show. Seemed like a great bunch of guys from everything I've seen and heard. Blink 182 stopped mid-song and yelled at a security guard to let a guy stay as they were kicking him out. No idea what the guy did but I'm guessing the band saw it and didn't think he should leave. One time I was at a show played by Wax Mannequin, Southern Ontario guy, and at the end, He kept getting requests for this song, but he said he didn't have the right guitar. So he took the whole of the bar out to the parking lot to get it from his car, and we all stood around in the crisp cold air in the middle of the night while he played this song for us. It was amazing. Saw Megadeth in concert, and Dave Mustaine, back before he was all born again, stopped the show because a guy in the mosh pit hit a woman in the face. He stopped everything and told everyone around him to kick his butt, which they happily obliged. It was awesome. Spoon performed at my college, and a friend of mine was being bothered by a seriously drunk frat boy whom we'd had a number of uncomfortable encounters before. We're at the front of the crowd and singing along, trying to have a good time, when drunk boy shoves his way to the front and starts hitting on my friend and getting a little physical with her. The concert was a bit understaffed, so although a number of us started to yell, the drunk was being a nuisance in general and dancing almost violently in a tight crowd. The staff didn't pay much attention. Maybe they chalked it up to general college rowdiness. Anyway, the lead singer somehow spotted us in the crowd and, mid-song, called over the staff and waved at them to get rid of the drunk. 2 big bouncers came by and pulled him over the barricade and took him away. The best was that the singer never really broke off the song. Handled everything with class and ease. As much as I don't like them, apparently My Chemical Romance are pretty decent, visiting people in the sick tents at festivals and such. MCR is awesome. I can't even count how many stories I've heard about them going out of their way to be nice to their fans. It wasn't so much a band that did something, but when I was in 7th grade I was front row for a Rob Zombie concert. I was basically a little girl in the middle of a huge mosh pit, and at one point I was being crushed between so many people I started to lose consciousness. A guy behind me saw me panicking and gasping for air, and he threw me up on his shoulders. Rob Zombie looked me straight in the eyes and threw me the OK signal and a wave when he saw I was alright. Not like they saved a life, but I thought this was pretty awesome. Before the Plain White T's made it big, they were an opening act for Simple Plan at a show at the Webster Theatre in Hartford, CT. I was mainly there because there was this super hot girl who was the lead singer of a band who played in a little room off to the side prior to the main show, who I was kinda crazy about. At some point I was at the bar after the Plain White T's set was over and spoke to the lead singer when he came over. I mentioned said girl, and after a few more minutes of bulls and making fun of Simple Plan he went off elsewhere. About 10 minutes later the girl comes over to me, all flirty, asks me to buy her a drink, and we end up leaving together 15 minutes later. The merch table is on the way out and the Plain White T's dude is there, slaps me on the shoulder, smiles and says enjoy. I was at a Cake concert in the 90s, and a girl sat on someone's shoulders and took off her shirt. There were all kinds of ages in the audience, and after the song ended the lead singer said, "Will you please put your shirt back on? I'm just playing music. Let's just focus on that." I was 13 at the time, and I remember thinking he was pretty cool for saying that. A few years ago, Mindless Self-Indulgence played at Soundwave Festival, and a friend of mine, who has prosthetic legs, was right up at the front. She threw her leg on stage and the singer picked it up and proceeded to dance with it and play air guitar. He then poured a Red Bull into the top and drank it out of the leg. It was pretty badass gross. I don't see this in here, but here's a good Bruce Springsteen story. One show at the Meadowlands, a truck crashed on RT3, I think causing massive delays right as people were traveling to the show, causing a 2+ hour backup. Bruce had to be on at 9 and off by 11:30-12 I think due to NJ sound restrictions and getting fined. Bruce said frick it to the fees and waited until 11ish so mostly everyone could get to the show. Blood for Blood are coming on stage and someone throws a beer cup out of the crowd. Guitarist puts down his guitar, takes aim with his fist at the flying beer cup, punches it back into the crowd, takes aim at the guy who threw the cup, jumps off stage, breaks his nose. 3 things stand out for me. At Warped Tour one year, during Chada's set, a guy got injured in a pit and the lead singer noticed and stopped the show immediately and waited until the guy got help. At an Every Avenue concert, 2 guys were about to get into a fight and the lead singer stopped the show and said they wouldn't continue until the problem was resolved. At a Streetlight Manifesto concert, the venue was very stingy about crowd surfing. Security got a hold of someone who was doing it and were about to kick him out, but the lead singer stopped the show to make sure the kid could stay. I went to see a band called Joan of Arc. They're a particular favorite of mine that hails from Chicago, and they very rarely tour outside of their own city. Anyway, they made it out to Richmond, so I attended happily. During another band set there was a ruckus near the front door. Turns out some guy came in off the street, snatched the box that had all the ticket sales money in it and bolted. They tried to catch the guy but to no avail. So they essentially went on to play a show for free. They were really cool about it and it was a great show. Additionally, somebody in the crowd kept heckling the singer about his nerdy dad or something. Eventually the singer blurted out, "Hey, frick you whoever you are, my dad is dead. He just died a month ago." Okay. A few songs later he went on to apologize, saying he was sorry he was being mean and didn't mean to get so aggressive. Nice guy. I watched James Hetfield get lit up on stage standing too close to a fire pit. Axl Rose pussed out, and riot. We're almost 600 comments deep in the thread, but at my fresh week, first year university in Canada, Billy Talent played. At one point during the set, someone fell in the mosh pit and the lead singer shouted, "Pick him up." The guy was still down, so the band stopped playing, and the lead singer again shouted, "Pick him up. If someone is down, you pick them up." The music didn't start till the guy was on his feet. I didn't even listen to them at the time, but on that night I gained a lot of respect for Billy Talent. I play in a band that frequents my university's bar. I don't want to toot my own horn too much here, but I think you guys will like this story. One of our most popular songs is "Don't Fear the Reaper." Partly because I usually pick someone out of the audience and hand them a cowbell to play alongside us. We've seen the spectrum of timing from these people, so it's always a risk, but it's usually a lot of fun. One guy in particular takes the cake for guest cowbell players. Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Leroy Petrie. He had just spoken at a conference and came to the bar to have a drink with some of the student body. We asked him up to play with us and the entire bar went nuts. I think everyone in that bar had their camera out. TLDR. Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Leroy Petrie played cowbell with my band. A few years back, my sister, 18 years old, and her boyfriend, 21, went to a Dropkick Murphys show. The show was 19 plus, the drinking age in Ontario, but she was only 18. Her boyfriend had gotten the tickets without realizing it was 19 plus. They got there early because they were so excited, but they were told she wasn't allowed in. She was pretty upset. She understood why she wasn't allowed in, but upset all the same. As they were leaving, one of the guys from the band walks by and heard she wasn't allowed in for being a year too young. Says follow me and lets them in through a side door and then talks to them for a few minutes before the show starts. Very nice guy indeed. In the summer of '94, I was 22 years old and I was at this concert called Woodstock. This band my friends hadn't heard of, Green Day, prompted the crowd to throw some mud. It was pretty epic. While at a Motion City soundtrack concert about 3 years ago, a random mosh pit opened up and I ended up getting knocked to the ground and was almost trampled when Motion City stopped mid-song and told everyone to stop what they are doing and help that kid, me, off the ground. They asked if I was okay and I gave the thumbs up and they continued to play. GGMCS. That's awesome of them. Years ago, while seeing Breaking Benjamin, a girl was crowd surfing and ended up going down when she was shifted into a gap. Everyone stopped and helped her up, but she was knocked out. It happened practically smack in the middle between two songs and they stopped and told everyone to get out of the way so people could take her off to the side. She came to after a few minutes and they made everyone give her a round of applause. I thought it was nice of them. Avenged Sevenfold constantly stop mid-song if people look seriously injured. They also bring people up on stage and let them sing or play guitar. And they are super sincere at meet and greets. Fred Durst RT'd my stuff on Twitter and got in contact with me about my band. Nothing has come of it, but I can honestly say without meeting him or DJ Lethal, and I have met and know a lot of musicians personally, they are cool people who stay humble and kind. Feel free to insert your anti-story or a bad experience you had with them or saw them do something. But in the last year, Fred and Lethal have been very kind to me when they had no real reason to even acknowledge my existence. Don't delude yourself. He does it all for the nookie. Less Than Jake refused to continue playing again until the bouncers let 2 little girls on stage. Took a few minutes and they got them up there. So many of these stories are the types of stories I use to explain why I love punk hardcore. The mentality that it is as much about the fans as it is about the musicians, and the importance on taking care of each other. That mentality in the songs that it's created keep people, me, hopeful, and makes people, me, want to be better people, person. I'm a bit of an old timer. Back in the 50s, I was dancing away at the school's sock hop prom to some good old fashioned jazz music. Suddenly this weirdly dressed kid gets on stage, commandeers the mic and a guitar, and insists the band try to keep up. The next thing I knew I was hearing rock and roll for the very first time. This Marty fellow sure knew how to play, too, but eventually he got a little carried away, started leaping about, breaking stuff, and playing his guitar like some kind of speed instrument. We all just kind of watched in silence at that point. He apologized, but insisted our kids were gonna love that kind of music. Didn't hear anything like it again till the 80s, when my kids were listening to it. Fancy that. It's like this boy was from the future. Earth Angel is not jazz music. When Bono pulled a girl who was being crushed out of the crowd, then proceeded to dance with her for the remainder of the song. That's a cool story. DKM put on one heck of a show. So this isn't the coolest thing I've seen a band do. In fact, it was one of the stupidest, but I thought I would share it. I was at an Anti-Flag concert where a Static Lullaby was playing. Well, apparently the crowd was not enjoying them because seriously, frick that band, they suck. And there was a group of people heckling them. The singer flips out, threatens to fight them, then declares that he is punker than anybody here and then slams the mic into his head repeatedly. He did the rest of the set with blood pouring out of his head. They still suck. At Warped Tour a few years ago, the band Thursday was performing. The audience were being complete douchebags, and one of them actually threw a glass bottle at the lead singer Jeff's head. It smashes over him and he starts bleeding. He finishes the freaking set without even stopping, blood running down his face and everything. Have an upvote for reinforcing just how awesome the Dropkicks are. My now husband and I had the pleasure of going backstage in at the Hob Dallas and meeting Ken Casey, one of the nicest individuals I've ever met. Classy all around. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.